Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Dick Tumbleweed, your everyday reliable weatherman currently reporting in the Pacific. My wife has left me, but the local monsoons from the west have not. Let's get right into it. Now you can see from this chart. Everybody get down! This place is raining heavy metal birds from the sky. This has to be an inside job. There is no other explanation. The end is near. The elites have infiltrated our way of life. Hold your loved ones close, for this is... Wait a second. Mateo!
Wrong place, wrong time, buddy. I totally scared the bejeepers out of that guy. Anyways, let's get with the formalities. Hey,
Good evening, gentlemen. I speak at you today not about the weather, but instead in regards to a Battlefield 5 topic near and dear to my heart, airplanes. By far my favorite feature in Battlefield 5. In my opinion, this game offers the most in the multiplayer dogfighting genre. I mean, sure, the aerodynamic physics are pretty jank, but if you want a realistic dogfighting sim, then go play DCS, Mr. Moneybanks, or even better, War Thunder. Yeah, you do that, you old base document leaker, you. But just know that the dopamine fix will keep you stimulated until you realize it's 2 a.m. and you have to work in 4 hours. And a couple things before we get started. In regards to this game's planes, we have 2 variants for each plane, likely choice due to limited resource management during the supported lifetime. But in short, despite having near identical appearances, each has its special quirks and abilities, and I will of course be justifying my rankings for each. And finally, number 3, a lot of you are probably pretty new to flying or straight up avoid it like the plague because you have moral standards. But it's as Sun Tzu once said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. So I've put several fun intermission tips at several intervals. Hopefully you'll find them helpful. At the very least, it should give you more insight into how a pilot thinks. With all that said, I am going to rate each plane based on the standardized tier list, with S being the greatest and F being the absolute worst. I'll be considering enjoyment, effectiveness, and unconventional advantages. Without further... Thank you. Wait a second. Thought I was alone. Who the fuck? I'm going crazy. But we already knew that. Supermarine Spitfire. Long ago, before the start of World War II, in the 30s to be specific, there was a flying competition. It was known as the Schneider Trophy Competition. Several countries were involved, including France, Britain, Italy, and the United States of America. The entire world would watch as the inspiration for the next generation fighter aircrafts would fight their way into the world. The winner would win 1,000 British pounds, worth just under $150,000 today. It was a competition of speed measured on a triangular course on the water, set for 280 kilometers. Following the British Air Ministry bid for the next generation fighter, Team Mitchell submitted Supermarine 224, a gull-winged monoplane with another improved Rolls-Royce engine. From my point of view, it was a no-brainer that the monoplane should win, but instead they picked some random biplane instead. Not sure where the thought process was there. But Mitchell wouldn't take no for an answer and over-engineered the fuck out of the prototype to make it the best it possibly could be, and reminded the RAF about how well his planes worked in the races. And in turn, the RAF gave him £10,000 to complete the prototype. So long story short, his team made the better prototype with a couple changes along the way, and after official testing, the RAF said, "Take my money," and the rest is history. Now for in the game, the experience is fast and deadly. The thing handles like a Rolls Royce because it has one in it. I actually don't know what either Rolls Royces are like to operate, as in this economy I'll be lucky if I'm well off enough to purchase a hobo tent to fulfill my fantasy of having some sort of freedom in this world. Anyways, the elevator is slow on this plane, and the ailerons make this thing roll way faster than you'd think, making it touchy and difficult to get used to, but both variants have reasonable flight heads to their names, so they are certainly viable. The Spitfire VA. I might not be the most qualified for this variant because in my glorious and objectively correct opinion, 303 automatic cannons is way too much instant damage to pass up. With a bunch of unimportant perks that reduce quick repair potency for immediate mechanical failure correction and more armor, I not only have a desire to shoot 8 guns at once, but I want to be fast while doing it. So, tack on the nitrous and call me Sonic the Spitfire, cause I gotta go fast. But honestly, this basic need route lacks a heavy munitions slot, so you're locked into strafing infantry and slapping planes out of the sky. Not my preferred variant, but I get a dopamine fix when I rain a hit hailstorm of lead onto an objective full of my enemies. B tier, basic and kinda niche. However, the Spitfire VB takes the role of the guy your girlfriend told you not to worry about. It looks the same, but for the route you want, you get 2 sets of heavy machine guns, being 20mm, and 2 50 cals as well, and also a nitrous booster, and also 8 dumbfire rockets. If the VA is Sonic the Spitfire, then VB is Shadow the Spitfire.
If I need your body, I'll fucking...
Just as fast, but carrying more lethal munitions, such as 3-inch rockets and machine guns to finish your problems with a dash of salt. Just to emphasize, the rockets release so fast, it's easy to dump your load and dip. Some nerds might argue that the 4.303's improved maneuverability and smoke are better for dogfighting, and I used to be a supporter of that over the speed boost, but then I got bullied by people with nitrous too much, so I realized it really just is inferior. No need to get fancy when you can fly laps around those tight-turning newbies. A tier. Shadow had a thing for fucking over Germans before he had a thing for Latinas.
So you want to be a pilot, huh? That's great to hear. Choosing planes as your choice of warfare leads to a number of nuances, such as spamming the fuck out of the plane spawn icon to get it before someone else. Learning how to fly the damn thing.
It doesn't.
Learning how to survive, finding kills, or winning a dogfight. And suppose you get the most of that down pat, you'll likely find yourself becoming a filthy mythic being known as a pilot. Want to hear some dapper young lad with a bag on his head talk about which ones are the best to use? Well, you're in luck, because that is exactly what we are doing today. You're probably wondering how you even get a plane. Well, there are a set amount of spawn tickets available on a select number of maps, so take a look at the scoreboard and survey how many players are currently in planes versus how many tickets are available. As you can see here, there's only 1 plane active in the sky at this moment. That means there are 2 spawn tickets that will be available soon. Spam the hell out of the spawn icon, risking early onset tendinitis. Until you morph into the world through the power of magic and friendship. Great job! Now comes actually flying the thing. First you want to set up your controls. You have several choices. WASD and mouse, controller, Logitech Thrustmaster, or perhaps you want to play like a psychopath like me. WASD and arrow keys. It's wacky at first, but with instantaneous movement and practice, you'll have an advantage over everyone else. Side effect being the sound of tap dancing. And finally, you want to set up your cockpit toggle, free movement control look behind in third person, and aim zoom, which magnifies or uses specific sights according to your weapon selected, such as bomber sights. These are the bindings I use personally, but you can link them to whatever you like. What's important is to know that you have these abilities at your disposal. And if you're wondering how you land, well, first you must initiate the landing mode, which automatically triggers when you fly slow enough and close enough to the ground. Now would be a great time to execute a landing maneuver. So, conventionally, we might just reduce the power, but in this case, we're going to violently flip the plane back and forth until it forces it to enter landing mode. And there we go. There we have it. So depending on where you want to touch down, you may need to feather the throttle, being sure not to go too fast, making the airplane exit landing mode. Basic gist of the story is to fuck around and find out. All that aside, what comes next is trying not to crash. When you first start out, this will be very tricky, but you'll get it sooner or later. Familiarize yourself with the whole operation and you shall become more comfortable with how things work. The important thing is to not give up. This completes the first segment for flying planes. Next up is tactics for ground assault.
The de Havilland Mosquito. Given the incredible and well-renowned engineering designs de Havilland created previously, they were known for speed and ingenuity. Upon the release of the British Air Ministry's requirements, the team made a freak out of an aviation wonder. Is that just a really big ice cream cone in the tail? Because that's what it looks like.
I dare say, other than the engines, this isn't much different than my wife's kitchen table.
Jeff from de Havilland was like, if we slap 2 super duper Rolls Royce Merlins in the engine bays, then it will fly 45 miles per hour faster than the fastest aircraft.
Submarine Spitfire.
that we have at this time. The de Havilland Mosquito was then produced and entered into active duty. It was well fitted as the fast bomber and reconnaissance plane at the start of the war. Following the events of Operation Jericho, plans were made to repurpose the recon aspect to more diverse areas. So Jeff,
My name is Jeff.
from de Havilland, then later proceeded to convert the fast bomber into a fighter bomber by mounting 4 303 Browning machine guns to the center of the nose, with the option of another set of 4 20mm Hispano Mark II cannons just underneath, capable of carrying a substantial payload of 2 tons, which is quite heavy, but not nearly as heavy when compared to your mother. The bomb bay would have an opening available for an assortment of bombs or a singular blockbuster. So, can you guess which title it was? Gone with the Wind? Jaws? Top Gun Maverick? Well, believe it or not, neither of these copies weigh anywhere near 2 tons. In fact, we are talking about the OG blockbuster, the slang term at the time for an amount of bombing explosives that were so potent in capability that they could wipe out an entire fucking block. These high-capacity bombs could be confused for a high-capacity keg of beer, but don't be fooled, it's actually a 4,000-pound bomb with catastrophic results. But that's not all Jeff did. He also put an auto-loading quick-fire 6-pounder, conventionally used as an AT gun, mounted underneath the fuselage as a counter to German German U-boats? Oh my, German U-boats snooping around the English Channel. The plane overall saw great success with a night fighter variant being made as well, purely based on the speed. Rumors, or perhaps legends arose, claiming that the plane had an incredibly small radar signature, making detection quite difficult. As to why that is, I don't care. We have more relevant info to cover. Now for the gameplay, as per usual, we have 2 variants. Mosquito Mark II. This plane is pretty cool, however the specializations available on this variant are mediocre. Increased rate of fire, lightweight package, and dumbfire rockets are the best route on the tree, for the rockets are just too convenient for easy kills and high damage leverage in a dogfight. I would say the high altitude package is good for deterring incoming bogeys, but by the time they start shooting, you won't have enough time to lose them unless you spend the entire game high up right inside that special exclusive boundary. But good luck hiding from anti-aircraft flak with that mindset, because you have no quick repair. D tier. I'd change my opinion on the matter if I could swap the smoke screen for a quick repair. Now for the Mosquito Mark VI. This is by far the superior variant of the Mosquito, with the saxophone exhaust, which will allow you to outrun pursuers, dumbfire missiles, radar, and a couple of bombs. Say what you want, but the lightweight package from the Mark II does not outweigh these features. However, this isn't even my preferred route on the tree. In fact, you'd have to be a fool to pass up the armaments offered on the right hand of the skill tree. The 6-pounder mounted underneath steals the show altogether. You're a threat to any ground target, and unconventionally yet effective, you are perhaps one of the most lethal threats towards other pilots. With the forward rate of fire, increased perks slapped on, and the second largest bomb in the game, the Blockbuster, second only to the B-1 flying bomb, which is a requisition, so honestly this is pretty good. All infantry and tanks must be wary. With 1 to 3 hits with the 6-pounder, depending on the plane, all sweaty pilots will also be screaming through their tears. S tier. Easily one of my favorite kits in the game. Blenheim medium bomber. If you expect an inspiring backstory on this plane, then you've got another thing coming. It's the basic bitch mold of what a medium bomber should be. Big bomb payload with a tail gunner. But to me, it just looks like a trout with wings. Developed by Bristol, the same manufacturers of my favorite attack plane in Battlefield 1, it served valiantly throughout the Second World War. Further into the war, they did a front-end facelift, making it look less trout-like. But that's about it, besides being sold to Finland, adding to its already culturally diverse roster of planes. Now for the game, the Mark 1F carries perhaps the heaviest combined payload in the entire game, with 2,000 kilogram bombs available on the right, as well as 8 40-pounders with quick repair as well. That alone makes it a potent tank / ground target killer. Alternatively, the left side has an engine upgrade increasing acceleration and top speed, smoke screens, radar for nearby enemy aircraft positioning, and 4 303 fast-firing machine guns underneath the fuselage. Now, I rarely use the front-facing guns as they're usually just a waste of time, unless I catch a low-health fighter sneaking around, but these 4 can prove fruitful given the absence of anti-aircraft. In the end, it's a bomber, and the Blenheim shines when it plays that role. A tier. However, the Mark I has a spotting camera alongside of 8 40-pound bombs, making it perfect for targeted infantry cluster bombing. But the variant before already had this. That, or you can choose the anti-tank mines instead, which can prove effective for tanks occasionally. However, outside of making everyone else visible for your team with that spotting camera, your heavily desirable tank busting abilities are nil for this variant. I would point out the radar package as being useful as well, but with the excessive camera view options, I do just fine without it. It's not a game changer. We also have several goofy perks available, such as airdrop supply crates and a parachute spawn for everyone on your team. However, I highly doubt the coordination between my team to use it properly, if at all, especially considering how low to the ground I tend to fly, which basically guarantees death for them. Therefore, putting it in tier. There aren't many selling points for this thing other than light carpet bombing. The Messerschmitt Bf-109. Initially developed and produced by a Bavarian-based company, Bayerische Flugzeugwerk and Messerschmitt, it was designed by old Willy Messerschmitt and Robert Luce. But because initial production was in coordination with Bayerische Flugzeugwerk, the BF in Bf-109 represents this. I'll save you the excessive yapping session for this one because there are far too many wacky features on the actual plane. The Bf-109 was originally planned as an interceptor, but by proving itself as the best fighter design available, it also served as every other variant available under the sun. Powered by a liquid-cooled Daimler-Benz inverted V12, perhaps one of the wackiest and cool features for this fighter is the fact it had optional armaments of a single 20mm HE machine gun that shot out of the center of the spinner. Now you might be wondering, how on earth can a gun shoot out between all of the propellers? Like, isn't there like an engine located in there somewhere? Well, yes, but actually no. You see, with the engine being inverted, there is just enough room between the two cylinder heads to slip a gun below. Now you might say, Matteo, you idiot, the prop assembly is bolted to the crankshaft, and that's still orientated in the middle of the engine block. So maybe we're going into technology based in the First World War, where the timing on the guns is set to only fire between interference with the propeller's location. But that's a good choice, as it is present on top of the cowling located just in front of the cockpit, a system also present in the A6M0 as well, but we aren't talking about those guns. We know they're there, and that's definitely not going out of the spinner. The gun shooting straight through the spinner kind of avoids the need for non-interference timing. Surely, they wouldn't just put a gun assembly right in the middle of the engine. That would make the maintenance crews suicidal. Well, don't worry, Germany strikes again with clever but overcomplicated engineering, as the crankshaft was attached to a hollow reduction gear leading to a lower prop position, perfect for a 20mm gun to peek through, with a barrel weaseled in behind the two cylinder banks, mounted and showing itself under the dash of the cockpit, which I must admit is very, very strange, but also very, very cool. On paper, the British opposition Supermarine Spitfire has a faster top speed by 40 miles per hour, and also arguably more responsive control surfaces, but the Bf-109 shows its strength in other ways. With her shorter wings and lawn dart-shaped body, with most of the weight being centered around the fuselage, the Messerschmitt was built to excel at boom and zoom diving maneuvers. Making a quick diving attack in this interceptor is where it shines the most. But don't worry, these factors were not implemented in this game for balance reasons, so the Bf-109 and the Spitfire are basically matched. The Bf-109 G2 is a weird one, as it's a jack of all trades while not really excelling too well at any specific role. The Minenschuss explosive center gun, in theory, should be pretty good, but I never had any luck with it, so I personally gravitate to the 4 light machine guns to melt bombers with, spotting flares to find infantry, and a 250kg bomb to soften tanks and repel said infantry. There's an engine upgrade available as well, but I will not trade that for the already limited weapons mounted on the Solko, as well as the auto leading edge for increased maneuverability, but once again I will not be trading that for bombs. The cherry on the cake is the improved resupply perk, which decreases the bomb reload time, which is aight, but honestly I'm gonna put it in C tier. It's usable, however the Bf-109 G6 blows my expectations out of the water. With a nitrous booster and a quick repair available at the base level, adding 4 light machine guns, 2 WFR GR 21mm rockets, and reinforced wings for more durability, this makes me happy beyond comparison, as the full potential of the boom and zoom demon becomes known to the world. Surely there's other perks available like spawn beacons and spotting scope, but get killed on the ground and in the air long enough by sweaty aces and you'll agree a trade-off for the rockets or increased durability is just plain silly. A tier. This is the plane I pick when my team is losing and I need to get shit done. Unless the problem is way too many tanks, and in that case I'm looking at the Stuka or the Ju-88.
So hopefully by now you've gotten a chance to fly around, you know, get some kills and level up your airplanes a bit. But chances are, even with the right firepower, you might find it challenging to know where exactly to deposit your munitions. We have so many objectives it can be overwhelming with all of the choices, so here's a quick rundown. Take this map, Panzer Storm for example. With tons of lush vegetation, it can be troublesome to find troops adventuring through the forest. However, tanks may be spotted with ease, simply because of their large profile. After the first initial spotting pass, when you fly over the target, here is where the real magic begins. You see, while bypassing the location where you suspected the enemies to be, using the free look key while in third person allows you to see directly behind you, good for detecting movement and checking for pursuing aircraft. Thus, after you find your target, you may choose to fly back around, perform a strafing run, dump your bombs, or rockets. Another way to find your prey is to look at the objective overview, then to interpolate where the enemy is most likely located. Open the map. Where is the nearest enemy objective? Is it contested? Where have your brothers in arms died on the battlefield? Where is a likely place they might hide?
Here I'll use the free look cam in first person to look to the left or the right, depending. Yes, somebody has spotted this location, in which case I will dump my rockets in the most useful position, namely on this tank. Here we just immediately thwarted a squad's push down that valley. Saw two tiny specks running on the ground. We interpolated that they were likely coming from objective C to E. It's that simple. Between map knowledge and the ability to interpolate the enemy's location based on where they can actually come from, based on probability.
After enough contrasting successful versus unsuccessful bombing runs, you'll eventually get an eye for where your firepower is needed. Little side note here, as well, the Ju-88C and Blenheim have reconnaissance cameras which will spot anything within its vision after every photo, as well as certain specializations will automatically spot enemies with suppressing fire. This concludes the second module. Next up is repairs and weapon management.
The Junkers 88. I have yapped a little too much, so we're going to go through this one briskly. The Junkers 88 was originally designed for the Schnell bomber, much similar to the de Havilland Mosquito, but more bomber-like as it has more than one seat and a tail gunner. Being the smexy twin-engine plane that it is, it doesn't just have one tail gunner, oh no, but two, for complete protection of your yacht. The Ju-88A, seemingly unassuming in design, it's easy to say this is the ultimate tank busting tool. On the right, the skill tree offers an optimized route for carpet bombing, increased armor, dive brakes, nitrous boost, as well as 2 1,000-pound heavy bombs, almost guaranteed to wipe out any tank as long as you make direct hits. After you dump your load, you can escape with ease with this great speed. That alone makes this plane very viable, however, the underdog weapon still remains unveiled. You see, the Ju-88 comes with a set of 12 automatic guns. Oh my goodness, this thing's basically a score streak. Very effective for infantry as well, but yeah. That will decimate any fighter that doesn't understand the quick repair exploit. So if they get cocky, you can melt half their health and then finish them off with a tail gunner swap when they turn for a supposed easy kill. Disclaimer, this doesn't work on Trev Gaming because he know what's up. Anyone else though? Easy money, A tier. Now, the Ju-88C is a trained killer with the ability to destroy any filthy unaware fighter or easily any other aircraft, with dive brakes for a steeper dive pullout and a slightly better forward machine gun, spotting camera, and the 75mm ventral cannon mounted underneath. The description says most effective against armored vehicles, but what it really should say is most effective against airplanes. You see, just like the de Havilland Mosquito Mark 6, you can unconventionally annihilate any unassuming aircraft in 1 to 3 shots. And although the handling in this beast is a little slow, that doesn't matter as long as you you get good. Paired as well with the recon camera, spotting almost everything on the map with proper positioning, this makes this thing damn near impossible to kill, as well as extremely annoying to the enemy, which in case you were wondering why you're constantly being spotted on the map when planes are available, this mythical gadget called the recon camera is likely responsible. Now the right hand branch alternatively has a couple 250 kilogram bombs, a radar package which paints all aircraft within 250 meters and makes the plane look different with those little antennas up front, adding stylish points there. Armored fuselage, upgraded rear gunner, great for gunner swapping, and the final upgrade for 20mm guns up front. 20mm is better than 303, already making this thing better than whatever the Blenheim had to offer. The matchup is so strong, it may turn you into a lethal dogfighting legend, as long as you can land your shots. Conventionally, big slow bombers shouldn't chase little fighters, but with the proper approach, and with this rate of gunner swap might not even be necessary. But if so, your advantage is lethal. They could be gone in seconds. Throw that alongside two tail guns with lower and upper coverage, then you're set. This is a Smexy package for Smexy pilots, S tier. This variant is just a little bit more fun than the other. Junkers Stuka, named after a mythical creature of unknown origin, or maybe just a horse. I feel it's fitting as how unique and feared this plane was. Designated officially as the Junkers 87, this plane filled the role of a dive bomber likely better than any bomber ever will. Pre-war, the Stuka was unofficially tested in Spain during the Spanish Civil War during the late 1930s, giving the German engineers invaluable field data. I say unofficially because the League of Nations gave Germany very specific instructions after losing the First World War to not militarize their country, but we all know they ignored that one. With a slower moving speed for a diving approach between 60 to 90 degrees, dive brakes, automatic dive recovery system, which would activate if the pilot passed out from excessive G-forces, crutches for the bomb under the belly, an arm sling type system that prevented prop strikes upon bomb drop, a heavy payload capacity, and iconic Stuka sirens, which caused more PTSD than any other plane in history, and not just on the victims. There were many cases and complaints with the pilots due to the deafening scream as they dove to the ground to reap the souls of their prey. Some swore they would rather die than pilot the plane again, leading to the option of removal even being an option in the game, potentially adding to decreased detection. However, I personally believe that the psychological effects on the enemy are just too badass to pass up. So surprise, surprise, the Stuka has two variants. As I mentioned earlier, this is a norm for every plane in the game. Picking the B chassis with the most noticeable difference being the aggressive radiator opening just below the main cowling and a cursed happy face. These two are paired with vastly different weapons. The Stuka B1, with the best route on the tree, you can carry 4 50kg bombs, dive brakes for a steeper pullout game, and a 1,000-pound bomb for heavy damage and blast radius. With a direct hit and good approach, using all your bombs makes it very possible to obliterate any full health tank. Sticking behind a confident AA tank is always very satisfying, as he will probably get discouraged for next time or rage quit altogether. And with historically accurate methods, assuming the skies are clear from flak, you will catch so many enemies unaware and vulnerable, putting themselves into a frenzy trying to find out where you're actually coming from. A tier, one of the best bombers in the game. Now the Stuka B2 has the option to delete the sirens, but that choice is countered with having 4 50kg bombs, which comes as a package deal with a smoke screen, spotting camera, and upgraded passenger gun, which proves very handy for soloing cocky P-51 or Spitfire pilots. Simply make your own squad so no one messes everything up and spawns in the driver's seat while you're trying to gunner swap, and you will melt a full health fighter in seconds. Even better, chase some fighters, get some hits in, and if they try to stall dodge you, then just hit them on your way past in the back seat. Works every time. It also must be said that the rear gunner is also really good for killing ground targets as well. It's a fun novelty turned into an underground knockout maneuver. That paired with the reconnaissance camera makes you an unkillable scout plane with the ability to see everyone. The only setback being the lack of heavy ordnance, making the anti-aircraft tanks your greatest adversary. And on the right side of the skill tree with the paradropped AT mines and 2 37mm board cannon autocannons, they will get you kills with strafing runs as well. However, with extended firing approaches, you make yourself vulnerable to an assault lining up a Fliegerfaust shot. The autocannons are also decent for dogfighting if you get good. However, if you try to take out anything besides another bomber, then you're almost guaranteed to lose with this path. S tier. very unconventional, and very effective for the strategic pilot that wants to support his team.
While flying around, you will get damaged, so you must know when to back out of a fight and head back to a resupply checkpoint, or your flying privileges will be revoked temporarily. Popping a quick repair whilst under fire may save your skin in the process. However, if an engine or wing is damaged, you will want to initiate the normal repairs once safe from incoming fire, as any damage taken will interrupt the process altogether. Depending on how much damage you have taken, your maximum health may be restricted, so initiate your last possible repair to complete just after you pass through the resupply gates, which will in fact reset your maximum health. It will save you time. I also suggest dropping all munitions such as rockets and bombs if they are partially depleted, as you will be punished if a reload timer from the amount left over remains once they are spent, so best to have them ready to use for when you need them. This may sound confusing, but once you use the bombs or rockets, you will understand what exactly you need to do. Another strategy you could use is, in the instance that a persistent fighter is chasing you near a resupply gate, you can use quick repairs. You see, the normal repair sequence will heal more, but will be interrupted by damage. So you can delay the inevitable by circling around the resupply gates and farming quick repairs, popping them every time that they recharge. This could keep you alive just in time until the enemy gives up or help arrives. This concludes the third segment for flying. Next is dogfights and evasive maneuvers.
The A-20 medium bomber, initially pitched in the prototype phase with having two Wasp Junior engines, effectively two de Havilland Beaver bushplane engines. After unofficial testing in the Spanish Civil War, the US of A said, "Fuck off, this isn't enough power," so Team Douglas got together and put the pitch of two twin Wasp engines in instead, making the Air Force branch very pleased, and was later replaced by an even more powerful pair of Curtiss-Wright power plants. A large part of the A-20's early career was ran from the Lend-Lease program, a fun little loan of sorts that unofficially involved the United States of America with the World War. You see, they didn't really want to get involved at first because it was bad for their image, but you know, unofficially, I mean, they can give out loans and loans of airplanes, hence the term Lend-Lease program. Anyways, as they were simply only supplying financial funds as well as planes and other weapons, the A-20 was one of these items given and transported to the Soviets as well as the British. Now, outside of that, this bitch fucking fits the basic description of a pretty good medium to high altitude bomber, offering high capacity and tail gunner coverage as well. Capable of firing large rockets and dropping large quantities of bombs as well. There is a heavily modified night fighter variant that saw a lot of dark scenarios and is available in the game as well, but we'll touch on that very soon. For now, let's rank this variant first. The A-20 performs well as a bomber because it is in fact the heavily reliant and sufficient bomber variant, with two sides of the tree available. Big surprise. One offering medium range dogfighting cannons and the other offering four 20mm high explosive cannons, effective for infantry. However, it should be noted that the fire rate is slow. However, all of the guns fire all at once, making a lethal splash damage area for any gripped up infantry. Within 2 to 3 near hits, they're dead. But I find the pressing threat of AA guns and flak panzers to take priority before I can even think about doing that. But once that is taken care of, then the infantry shall learn to fear the A-20 ground killer. So onto the lower part of the tree, there is a selection of basically every bomb except the sun available. I prefer the 2,000-pound bombs for stuffing out tanks, but there are some parafrag bombs for the low altitude bombing and perhaps some incendiary bombs. Anyways, 2,000-pound bombs, I truly think that's the way to go. Bomber tier. Good bomber with backup gunner availability for deterring ambitious fighters. P-70 Night Fighter. The P-70 is the night fighter variant of the A-20, with radar addition marking any aircraft within a certain area. In the game, it starts with no back gunner, allegedly being needed for the bulky radar system. However, if that is actually the case, I honestly don't know. You can re-add the tail gunner with specialization, but I wouldn't trade it for the supercharger available on the other side of the tree, easily making the very volatile and effective nature for this plane. Sorry, did I mention that this bomber comes with the option for a manual supercharger? A supercharger in the night fighter, dude? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. It also comes with bat bombs with a much longer glide distance, theoretically making it beneficial to bomb AA guns and tanks from a safer distance so you don't have to eat as much flak. Yes! 2 bombing runs, fuck you. On approach, the sights are super buggy, but zooming in and out usually fixes it. Now, I should say, in actuality, the bombs were guided via radar communication links similar to a tow missile, except without the wire connecting the projectile. I have a love-hate relationship with them, and honestly, I prefer the rockets as they are less buggy, and they are so lethal. So here we go. Here's my preferred route: 6 heavy machine guns, manual supercharger, fin barrels, 12 M8 rockets, increased ammo capacity, spotting scope, S tier. Using the rocket is like having a portable T-34 Calliope mounted to your wings. And having supersonic speed in a bomber honestly feels too fun to be allowed.
You are now a sweaty pilot. However, truth be told, there are several creatures out there who are sweatier than you, and you must know how to deal with them. First off is other pilots. In most cases, the opposing pilot will leave you alone as long as you stay on your side of the map. But if they are the most bitchless and unemployed creatures on planet Earth, then you will get diddled if you are not paying attention. To mitigate this, you will have to defeat them. If you have friends or anti-aircraft build teammates, then you could potentially lead the pursuer back to their location. Otherwise, you are on your own. Your approach will differ depending on your aircraft and specializations. You may choose to zoom boom.
I fucking love being subjected to the zoom and boom maneuver. It is my fucking favorite thing! Right next to plunging into the ground.
Or if you have a faster, more agile aircraft such as a Zero, Corsair, Spitfire, BF-109, or P-51, you could choose to lock into a turning chase battle, which, depending on the circumstances, could be over very quickly. The main name of the game is Height Advantage and Momentum. The person who is higher may dive on a lower unsuspecting enemy, and assuming they can line up the shots, they will likely be the victor in this confrontation. However, if it gets prolonged, then both adversaries are subject to outside forces such as assisting fighters or anti-aircraft interference. If it is favorable, you may choose to bug out of the situation, given the interference of said adversaries. Once again, the name of the game is Height Advantage and Momentum. Locking into a turning battle puts you at the same level as the enemy aircraft, and if you can't eliminate them quickly in a turning battle, things get dicey and unpredictable. But chances are, if a low-life pilot has appeared on your 6, none of these things will work as a short-term option, as if you don't respond quickly enough, then you will surely perish. So, you will have to initiate evasive maneuvers.
Can we stall dodge it? Yes, we can. What the bloody hell was that?
Wave through trees, fly under bridges, or through hangars. Alternatively, you could initiate the scissor maneuver. You could fly slowly, attempt to land, pull every trick up your sleeve because you are the prey in this circumstance, and hopefully they will crash or lose sight of you, in which case be prepared to finish the fight or run home to lick your wounds. Alternatively, in a bomber aircraft with a tail gunner, you can pull a pro-gamer move known as the gunner swap, assuming you are alone in the aircraft and you don't have a bunch of brainless squad mates that just spawn in your aircraft and don't bail out. In order to do this, aim the aircraft slightly upwards and jump in the back seat, giving your best attempt to melt the confused confliction. Your aircraft will lose speed, assuming no pilot has spawned in, and glide peacefully, slowly towards the ground. And the fighter behind you will struggle to not overshoot your location due to your incredibly low speed. If he does find himself past your bomber, be prepared to finish him with your forward-facing gun swapping back into the pilot seat. This concludes sequence 4. Next up is my final attempt at training you anti-aircraft avoidance and strategies to dispatch them effectively.
P-51, initially created as the perfected version of the P-40 Kitty Hawk to supply, in regards to the Lend-Lease program for the RAF, the P-51 started out with the Allison 1710 engine. If you owned a Chevy, then you may recognize the company for the transmissions they make to this very day. And sorry to disappoint with the Allison reference, but that engine was soon swapped with the Spitfire engine, the Rolls-Royce Merlin being the new standard for the bird due to low performances at high altitude. But just know, at one point they did make engines for a scary interceptor/fighter. The engine was similar, but not the exact same to the Supermarine Spitfire or the de Havilland Mosquito. It had the super power of a nasty 2-stage supercharger system, adding much needed air fortification required for high altitude operations. And for the most part, during the World War where it performed, it had superior performance qualities, only trumped by the German jet fighters released near the end of the war. There are 2 variants available in the game, and we will get to both, of course. That's why we're here as far as the game is concerned. The P-51D route comes with a 6 times heavy machine gun, improved maneuverability, supercharger, 2 5-inch rockets, improved resupply, and a spotting scope that spots infantry whenever you zoom in on your sights, and I think maybe fire. I don't know, it's kind of goofy sometimes, with the only trade-off being a quick repair. So the boom and zoom strat is heavily utilized here, unless chasing down another airplane, or if the enemy's AA game is weak. She's a pretty good, well-rounded multi-role plane that actually rolls pretty good. Truth be told though, there are similar planes with much better kits, including the quick repair. I give this guy A tier. For the P-51K, she comes with some special quirks, such as stealthy bullets without tracers, good for confusing everyone, especially yourself if you don't understand how to lead target. An engine upgrade, fin barrels for all the guns you're packing, 2 500-pound bombs, paradrop AT mines, and dive brakes to help you pull out of a dive faster. I'm not set on this route, as there are alternatively incendiary bombs, parafrags, and a spawn beacon available as well. Love or hate it, rockets are where fighters get the edge in the game, and this plane has none. She's a good ground support craft, but she ain't better than the D variant outside of the quick repair. C tier. A6M-0. The legacy of the Zero was heavily linked to kamikaze attacks throughout the Pacific. However, this is nothing short of discrediting. You see, at the beginning of the war, upon initial release, past the prototype phase, the Mitsubishi Reisen was likely the most dynamic and agile fighter plane in the entire world at the time. In the bidding war for the next generation fighter, tasked with world domination, the requirements were a tall order. It had to be fast, it had to be able to take off on carriers, it had to have good dogfighting capabilities, and it needed to fly long distances. One of the lead developers, Jiro Horikoshi, knocked it out of the park. His team over-engineered the fuck out of the plane so heavily that it filled most roles and served as the most manufactured Japanese plane throughout the Second World War by a really large margin. It was unmatched in the Manchurian conquest and even against British colonial fighters, being incredibly maneuverable considering the weight and available power from the engine. Even though the planes may have been evenly matched due to the Zero's fuel tanks, which ignited like matchboxes when hit, and next to no armor on the entire airfoil for pride and weight-saving motives, but the factor that decided the victory against Allied fighters, which is normally heavily ignored, is that the standard for pilots at the earlier phases of the war was, in fact, extremely high, perhaps even unrealistic, but in turn the Japanese Navy had some of the best pilots in the world. Well, probably because of the pride thing, they never officially recorded aerial victories. Maybe they were even better. That being said, their ace pilots didn't really last long because they didn't take good care of them at all. Most actually died in the sky of battle, so when turned to compensate for the lack of pilots near the end of the war, out of desperation, the Empire of Japan lowered the standard and amount of training for new pilots, simply to put them into the position of kamikaze attack mandates, in which, technically, you had the option to sign, but in actuality, you really didn't. Everybody was forced to. The kamikaze or divine wind attacks were arguably demoralizing and definitely didn't win the war for Japan. If anything, it made the Allies think less of them. Now, the plane platform itself, it served for 6 years straight, with variants adding things such as clipped wings, new engines, armored cabs, self-sealing tanks, unclipped wings. Yeah, basically the plane was really good at the start, but when Uncle Sam's beach party got crashed, he took it personally and made the Corsair, which had landing gear problems initially, so it was late to the party. But once it was fully functional, it was superior to almost every plane in the Second World War. Did I mention that the Japanese pilots didn't have radios? Yeah, so that's a big contributing factor to the uneven scales too. Now let's talk about the game. The Corsair and the Zero perform in a very similar way in regards to movement, likely due to the balance or a rushed development time. So the Zero actually has guns centered around the cockpit, making it easier to nail the other plane while in an extended maneuvering conflict. At least that's what I find from my own experience. The A6M2 fills the role of a fighter bomber with some quirky options available. Many things present themselves on the skill tree. We got 4 20mm explosive cannons, great for infantry, a high altitude package for flying in a VIP sky area area higher up before stalling. Incendiary bombs, normal bombs, flares, paradrop landmines, smoke screens, engine upgrades, but the route I suggest will work best is this one. 4 LMG for dogfighting, engine upgrade for speed.
You need to move a little faster than that, son. Speed is life.
Fin barrels to keep the dogfighting lucrative, the 842-pound big bomb for tank and everything else suppressants, AT mines to keep the enemy salty, and an improved control surface upgrade, which actually visually shows the clipped wing tips. Stylish points there. There's a lot to unpack here, but trust me, it's a good starting place unless there's a clan/swarm of sweaty, no-life Corsairs coordinating. And for the AA guns on the Pacific map, where this plane is only available, I suggest sneaking up and road killing them with your wing, as it is surprisingly easy to do.
Be gone, son!
Yeah, boy.
B tier, don't worry, that main attraction is coming up, and it's very good. Well, here it is, the A6M5, the better version of the Zero. So this is what you should look for. Choosing the route of 6 heavy machine guns, a manual supercharger, reinforced wings, and the main attraction,
Rockets.
you can choose between 8 smaller rockets or 2 heavy rockets, but my preference is the 2 heavies, as there is less time wasted in the dive towards the target, which increases the risk of a Fliegerfaust takedown from the ground. Moving further down the tree, it's a toss-up for me between improved resupply and the spotting scope, but I'd say the scope is more powerful in the long run, as it spots targets for the rest of your team as well. And to top off the box meal, here we have improved control surfaces as well. This is the most effective kit available. Now the rest comes down to skill. Honorable mentions for the specialized weapons available. There's a spawn beacon that's attached to a parachute that anyone on your team can spawn on until it reaches the ground proximity. And there's a wacky upward angled gun that didn't get 3D modeled into the game, but it shoots 20mm high explosive at a really wacky angle.
I killed a guy, and I am surprised.
From experience, it's most useful in a turning battle with another fighter. However, flying inverted and performing a strafing run is also very viable. That all said, I'm not picking that over the kit mentioned earlier. My final answer is S tier. This may be subject to bias, but I think this fighter handles better than any other in the game.
Now, as a well-seasoned pilot, you've likely learned lots, and will continue to learn, as there is so much to take in from the sky. That said, I must take this time to address the biggest thorn in your side as a pilot: anti-aircraft. Anti-aircraft can come in several forms of creatures: AA tanks, AA gun emplacements, Fliegerfausts, and bazookas. Without seeing this part of the tutorial, you've likely asked yourself how to combat the depression and anxiety associated with being unable to safely farm kills. But fear not, as the road is rocky and the skies may be filled with flak, but that doesn't make things hopeless. With flak and Fliegerfaust rounds having tracing qualities, they become easy to track down if you evade the route which they attempt to intercept your flight path with, as well as the AA flak has a limited range that it detonates at. Fliegerfaust and bazookas, not so much. They fly slower, so get good. If by some miracle you get shot by an AT gun, you might as well just say good shot and not get mad, because you shouldn't have been flying that close to the ground. First off, a good way to tell if an AA gun is in use is to look at the map. There are a set amount of them in certain locations, and over time you will learn their whereabouts. So, if they are unoccupied, you will see them on the map. If the icon is not visible on the map, then chances are it's active or destroyed. But more likely than not, they are active.
We can also interpolate that one of the aircraft AA guns more east are active at this moment, because the one on the west is visible on the map.
Soldiers, we have lost objective Charlie.
And that was correct.
Objective dog is...
Fortunately, I was able to win that 1v1.
So fly low, approach from an unexpected angle, and delete the thing with your weapons or wing, and then move on. Now you see, AA tanks are a bit trickier, as they can move almost anywhere on the map, but the strategy is the same. Fly low to the ground, show up from an unexpected angle with the intent of termination, and then continue on with your business. I'll be honest, you can avoid the infantry, but you can't effectively counter them every time, as each foot soldier has the potential to wield one. Just most don't know how. Secret, you buy it in the armory. Now you have the power to shoot down any
fucking
annoying pilots. You're
asshole.
welcome. The best advice I can give for avoiding them is to not be predictable and don't fly in straight lines. And well, bazookas? Well, much like getting shot by a tank or a field gun, type good shot in the all chat and then stop flying so low to the ground because that is more impressive than anything else. This concludes the aircraft training segments for the video.
F4U Corsair, perhaps one of the most capable fighters that the United States of America had to offer, it would have a rough and rocky start until it was ready to fight the Japanese pilots. Originally made by Vought and designed, the plane was built to fill the carrier fighter role. With a double Wasp air-cooled supercharged engine, the same engine put into the Hellcat, the flight speed and performance was better in the Corsair. From my perspective of shallow speculation, I'd say it's due to the extra foot in propeller diameter and the gull wings, which looks the increased risk for prop strikes by lowering the mounting point for the retractable landing gear. However, several setbacks in development made the Navy bump the plane to the Marines for air support, as the thing was prone to bouncing too much on carrier landings, had oil leakage from the cowling flaps that would cloud the pilot's ability to see as it splattered on the canopy glass. The gull wings blocked a lot of airflow going to the elevator, reducing the control authority, and it had a nasty tendency to stall to the left on sudden overshoots if a carrier landing was aborting. However, most of these problems were solved not long after. The oil splatter from the cowling flaps was fixed by reducing the amount of cowl flaps that would spray the canopy. The bouncing problem upon landing was fixed with the bleed valve that slowly relieved the strut oleo pressure as it landed, and for the stall problem to the left, they installed a stall strip on the right wing to balance things out. Like stated earlier, because of the reputation in regards to weapons problems, the Navy gave it to the Marine branch for inland operation. However, in late 1942, they quaked. It was a no-brainer. The Corsair was the best fighter available in the Pacific, so they knew it would pay off. So the Navy made two squadrons consisting entirely of Corsairs, VF-12 and VF-17, the Jolly Rogers. Mounted with machine guns loaded in the wings and the option between rockets, bombs, and or drop tanks, this plane decimated the competition in the Pacific. The official win-to-loss ratio against the Imperial Japanese was 11-1. Japan was nothing short of cooked. The plane soon coined the nickname Whistling Death based on what it brings to the battlefield and the daunting sound it makes in a dive. Now, for the most part, this plane's kit is very similar to the Zero's. For the F4U-1A, the only difference between the Zero, for the most part, is the absence of the nose cowl twin machine guns and instead extra wing cannons. So she goes right beside the A6M2 in bomber tier. And the F4U-1C, damn near identical to the Japanese competition, at least in the game. Once again, the difference being the organization of the main guns, and is the addition of the bat bombs. S tier. If I had to choose a favorite, A6M5 and the F4U-1C, it'd probably be the A6M5. But they both have the perks. The F4U-1C sounds a little cooler, and the Zero handles a little bit better. Thanks for watching, y'all. With any luck, you learned a thing or two. And judging from the last comment section from the tank tier list, I would likely learn a lot from this as well, as I am not perfect and I make mistakes. However, the Valentine Rage bait was so good. Oh man. So once again, I invite you all to discuss your thoughts and historical prowess over all the details. I will respond to every comment, unless it sucks. Sometimes I just don't know what to say to all of y'all. Also, a big thanks to underappreciated and respected colleague of mine, ProfessorMem. I keep making him do cameos in my videos, but his knowledge on infantry weapons on Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, and Battlefield 2042 is without a doubt unmatched. I will always learn cool stuff from his videos, and honestly, he is underrated. Go check out his channel if you haven't already. And finally, big thing of note here, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, I know this video took a long time to release. My apologies, hopefully it was worth the wait. My needless excuses are that I am terminally employed, and in my free time, I had a career-building activity to materialize into reality. And with that done, I have more time. That, and I also had a spiritual journey to go on. But because I am a pathological idiot, I unfortunately have more than enough time to push further with this YouTube career thing. I should call her.
Ha ha ha. If she really gave a damn about you, she would phone you. And after what you said, spoilers, Doubtful that's gonna happen. You're a piece of shit. Why are you even still alive? Your dreams in life are all going to fail. You're just a waste of space. She deserves better anyway. Think about all the shit she's talking about. You couldn't even make a simple relationship
Why
work.
don't you just
give up?
random fact about
remember that thing you
toasters.
did when you were a kid? Real stupid. You've made so many fuck-ups over the years. Why even keep
Do the
going?
world
a favor, would you? Is that a paper bag on your head? Rose, I think I smell mold in there. How do you even breathe? Oh, remember that girl? Oh wait, you're a sentimentally attached dipshit. Of course you do. You probably made her life worse anyways. How could anyone love a moron with a bag on their head? Things aren't gonna get better. They're only gonna get worse.
Well, life lesson for the day. Your value as a person is based not on the amount of L's you take, but instead on your ability to fall down and get back up. Fuck Asiago Mateo. Today, we are motivational Mateo. When it comes to your dreams, you have two decisions. Give up and fail, or succeed. Do it tired. Do it hungry. Do it when you feel hopeless, regardless of if everyone doubts you. Do it even when your own mind doubts your abilities. Prove yourself wrong. Prove everyone wrong. Never give up. Become delusional until your delusions are proved to be rationalized actions based on the post-reward of success itself. Follow your dreams, guys, or don't. Because even if you fall short, or if you find that said dreams are unrealistic or unobtainable, you'll at least be further along in your life path than you would be when you did nothing. Even if it means you walk alone, that is the price.
I'm the manifestation of your inner thoughts, and I'm not done with you.
Ah, what the fuck? Hey, fuck off. You're not allowed to break the fourth wall anymore. These pain meds got me acting up. Anyways, with whatever is going on up here, I'm not likely to get any peace of mind anytime soon, so expect to hear from me substantially more into the future. Like, seriously, I have to address this. 2,000 subscribers. Wow. Thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for commenting, engaging, and watching my stuff. It really does mean a lot to me, considering my interest in making something worth watching over all these years. I hope that I can keep you entertained enough to stick around into the future. With that said, until next time, Mateo out.